This video is sponsored by Rail and Road Auction House, the Midwest's only dedicated home for transportation memorabilia. Give yourself a chance to own a piece of history by attending one of their upcoming online auctions. Register to bid by downloading the new Rail and Road app on your Apple or Android device, or visit rarauctions.com to join in on the fun. Whether you're new to the hobby or are a lifelong Railroadiana collector, Rail and Road has something for everyone. From porcelain to paper and signs to speeders, Rail and Road Auction House is the place to find your railroad treasure. "The Southern serves the South" was a slogan adopted by the legendary Southern Railway in 1915 and still rings true today in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Southern Railway 4501 is a 1911 Baldwin-built Mikado-type steam locomotive that now serves passengers riding with the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. Restored once again in 2014, the 4501 now pulls trains for the museum in Chattanooga and through the scenic countryside of North Georgia on the Summerville Special. On August 5, 2017, the thermometer had risen well into the 90s before the Summerville Special's departure at Grand Junction. Located east of downtown Chattanooga, Grand Junction Station is where passengers board all of the museum's excursion trains. The Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum, known simply as TVRM, was founded in 1960 and officially incorporated in 1961. Initially, the museum stored its equipment at the Western Union Pole Yard, adjacent to the Southern Railway Classification Yard in East Chattanooga. After passenger service to the Southern Railway's terminal station ended in 1971, additional cars and locomotives were stored in downtown Chattanooga. In 1969, the TVRM received a land donation from the Southern Railway, which included the Whiteside Tunnel and abandoned right-of-way spanning about 1.5 miles. With the reconstructed rail line, the museum operated a heritage railroad, running passenger excursion trains through Whiteside Tunnel, also known as Missionary Ridge Tunnel. They generated income through mainline excursions and the Southern Railway's steam program, which began with the first restoration of the Southern Railway 4501 locomotive in the mid-1960s. In the 1980s, the museum expanded its facilities, acquiring more land donated by the Southern Railway and constructing buildings such as the Grand Junction Depot and the Administration Building. They also added a repair shop and a turntable at East Chattanooga. Following Norfolk Southern's termination of the original steam program in 1994, TVRM sought new opportunities to expand its excursion train routes, including trips to the Chattanooga Choo Choo and on to Summerville. Departing shortly after 9 a.m., the 4501 eased out of Grand Junction, where it traveled over the Southern's original main line to the Norfolk Southern Interchange at 23rd Street. After taking the Belt Line to 23rd Street, the Summerville Special took Genesee and Wyoming's Chattooga and Chickamauga Railroad and continued south over the short line to Summerville. The C&C was constructed by the Chattanooga, Rome, and Columbus Railroad and was completed in 1889, running south out of Chattanooga through the communities of Rock Spring, Lafayette, Tryon, Somerville, and Lyerly. Eventually, the railroad became part of the Central of Georgia Railway in 1901. Now owned by the state of Georgia, Genesee and Wyoming has operated the line since 2008. The echo of 4501's whistle could be heard bouncing off the nearby ridge as she slowly made her way by the Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park. In North Georgia and South Tennessee, Union and Confederate armies clashed during the fall of 1863 in some of the hardest fighting of the Civil War. The prize was Chattanooga, a key rail center and the gateway to the heart of the Confederacy. In September 1863, the Union Army of the Cumberland was routed at the Battle of Chickamauga and retreated into Chattanooga. Over the next 2 months, Confederate forces besieged the trapped Union Army. Finally, in late November of 1863, the Union Army won a series of battles around Chattanooga and drove the Confederates south into Georgia. The park gives visitors a historical overview of these events right where they happened over 150 years ago. Just a few miles south of the military park is the city of Chickamauga, where the Summerville Special slows as it passes the historic Central of Georgia Railway Depot. Opened in 1890, the depot underwent a series of modifications that included changes to the roof and the removal of the conical tower on the north side of the building. Recently, the depot was restored to its original form and is an architectural gem to the small town. The depot at Lafayette, Georgia is one of the state's newest depots, being built by the Chattooga and Chickamauga Railway as a yard office in the late 1990s. Just north of Tryon, the 4501 slowly paralleled Tatum Road. Built in 1911 by Baldwin, the 4501 spent time all over the Southern Railway system, eventually pulling freight trains out of Huntingburg, Indiana toward the end of her career. All Southern freight locomotives were dressed in black with gold lettering, which is why the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum decided to return the locomotive to its historically correct paint scheme upon restoration in 2014. Summerville is where the Tennessee Valley Railroad's steam locomotives are turned for the trip back north to Grand Junction. The historic Summerville Depot is located in the heart of downtown, right next to the beautiful Dowdy Park. The Central of Georgia Depot was featured in the HBO films Warm Springs and Mama Flora's Family, representing the pinnacle of rail travel in small-town America. Upon arriving at the depot, the 4501 uncoupled from her train and performed a reverse move, which positioned the locomotive for access to the turntable's spur track. While 4501 switched tracks, the passengers deboarded the train to watch the locomotive spin on the turntable. 4501 was the first Mikado-type steam locomotive the Southern ever purchased. After serving with the Southern Railway for 37 years in freight duty, the locomotive was sold to the Kentucky and Tennessee Railway in 1948. The K&T was a short-line railroad that utilized the 4501 on short freight trains until 1964, when the locomotive and her sisters were replaced by Alco diesels. Saved by rail fan Paul H. Merriman, the 4501 was restored in Chattanooga on the Lucy Boiler Company's property along Holtzclaw Avenue and eventually moved under her own steam power in 1966, all thanks to the dedicated team of volunteers Merriman assembled. After the initial test runs, the Southern Railway expanded the steam program thanks to Graham Claytor, who became the successor to President D.W. Brosnan in 1967. For the next 2 decades, 4501 became an American steam icon, pulling excursion trains all over the Southern and then later Norfolk Southern Railway systems. In April of 1994, the 4501 pulled her last mainline excursion for the steam program. She spent the next 4 years at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum pulling the Summerville Steam Special and the Missionary Ridge Local before being retired for the second time in 1998. In 2012, Norfolk Southern celebrated its 30th anniversary under CEO Wick Moorman. With his appreciation for the former Southern Steam program, Moorman introduced 21st Century Steam, which included Southern 4501, Southern 630, Nickel Plate Road 765, and later Norfolk and Western 611. With funding from Norfolk Southern, the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum returned the locomotive to service in September 2014. That fall, 4501 went on to pull several excursions on Norfolk Southern and did so again in the summer of 2015, but has since been limited to operations at the museum due to the cancellation of the second steam program in December 2015. Constructed in 1916 by the American Bridge and Iron Company, this 100-foot turntable was moved from Birmingham, Alabama to Summerville in November of 1999. A new turntable pit for the 90-ton structure was built in the city's downtown Dowdy Park, and a short-track connection was made to the adjacent Chattooga and Chickamauga Railway. Operational in 2003, the facility began turning steam locomotives for Tennessee Valley Railroad excursions on the CNC. The historic turntable once served the Louisville and Nashville's 36-stall roundhouse and Birmingham's Boyles Yard for decades, but outlived its usefulness there. It was slated to be scrapped, but thanks to federal transportation enhancement funds, the Georgia Department of Transportation and the community were able to purchase the turntable from CSX. Now turned for the northbound trip back to Grand Junction, the 4501 departed Summerville after an hour-and-a-half layover. At Tryon, the 4501 stopped just short of the Chattooga River Bridge in order for the crew to inspect the rear car, which was having mechanical issues en route. After the mechanical issue was resolved, the train continued northbound. Once again, we captured the train at the CNC's Lafayette Depot. As the Summerville Special continued north, TVRM's Missionary Ridge Local out of Grand Junction had just finished its last excursion for the day and was being shoved back to Sewell Shops. Knowing the Summerville Special was close by, the crew of the local decided to pose Southern Railway 630 with the 4501 for our cameras at the museum's mini Saluda grade. After the 4501 cleared the way, the 630 moved forward to clear the switch, then reversed back toward the shop facility at East Chattanooga. In years past, the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum would run an annual double-header excursion to Summerville with both Southern steam engines, and in 2016, we were on location to record the famous duo on the CNC. As mentioned, if you enjoy studying American Civil War history, there's no shortage of it in Chattanooga. In fact, TVRM trains to Summerville parallel the Chattanooga National Cemetery, where many soldiers from the Battle of Chickamauga are buried. There are many monuments on display in the cemetery, but the Andrews Raiders Monument is unique for its commemoration of the Great Locomotive Chase. It was erected by the state of Ohio in 1890 to honor the Union soldiers involved in the kidnapping of a steam locomotive called the General in 1862. The monument's granite base and die is topped with the bronze replica of the famous wood-burning locomotive. It has been several years since TVRM has operated the Summerville Special. In fact, the last time the train departed Grand Junction was in the fall of 2019. Due to a bridge restriction, trains are limited to the 23rd Street interchange with Norfolk Southern. Time will tell if the popular train will return to operation, but for now we look back at these excursions from 2016 and 17 as fond memories. Indeed, the Southern still serves the South in Chattanooga. For more information on how to visit the museum, visit tvrail.com. As always, thanks for watching Delay and Block Productions. Until next time, happy railroading.